today's presentation, we're going to talk about the problems, pitfalls, and obstacles that starting up a measurement program could entail. And I've broken this into three areas, which I call red light, which is reactive. We're going to review problems, pitfalls, obstacles, etc., experienced in implementing and sustaining measurement programs. These topics were based on my many years of experience in many companies and helping them set up or continue their software measurement program over the last 15 years. Then we're going to go into the yellow light, proactive, where we're going to discuss how to avoid or prevent these problems from the onset. And then the green light, best practices. We're going to look at what has worked well in other organizations that you may be able to use within your own organization. Under the proactive and best practices, these were gleaned from talking and doing workshops with many other people in the field, both experts as well as practitioners in the field. So this is based on the experiences of dozens and dozens of people I have worked with and did workshops with over the last several years. So I have organized these into some general categories. Once I looked and collected and collated all of this information, I was able to see that they nicely fit into these 10 general categories, as you see on the screen right now. And we'll go through each of those categories and talk a little bit about the problems you can find in them and how to prevent those problems, and then the best practices for each of those. Okay, starting with our red light, our reactive, our problems, our pitfalls, and our obstacles. Again, these are broken down into 10 main categories, the first one being management. The most critical problem that we find under this is lack of senior commitment. If an organization doesn't have commitment from the very upper levels, it's not going to be possible to get a software measurement program off the ground and be successful. So that's the biggest obstacle facing you under the area of management, is getting at least one person in the senior management field to buy into this and to commit to this. And a lot of times the software measurement programs start at the top, and that's great. But a lot of times it starts at the bottom. The people are actually there doing the work and recognize this need, so they need help convincing their management of the need of a software measurement program, and we'll talk about how they can do that in the later slides. It's also difficult for management to see that they need to invest up front for long-term gains. A lot of times executives want to see, immediate results, and a software measurement program is not an immediate return on investment, but a long-term. A little money spent up front is going to result in a lot of money saved down the road, and that's the problem you have to overcome in convincing management, that invest up front for long-term gains. The paying for expert advice by not using that advice, I can personally attest to. I get called in as an expert, I give them advice, and then they proceed not to use it, which usually a couple of years later, they call me back in and decide they should have listened to me to start with. So we have to convince them up front, you're going to pay for this advice, use it. So that's another area we're going to talk about. Poor decision making, not using input from the people that are actually doing the work, actually getting down there to the worker bees who have the day-to-day knowledge of what's going on and what's happening and what the problems are and how to improve it. And the big thing, first thing cut when budget is cut, is measurement. And that should be the last thing cut, because that is what's going to save money in the long run. So they tend to cut it when budget is cut, and then they tend to bring it back when they realize that this is actually hurting us by not having a measurement program. A second area is stakeholders and external factors. It's really important to consider factors outside of an organization's control, especially in today's environment, with the unemployment rate being the highest it's been in 50 years. I just heard that yesterday. We have to think about things like that, how we're going to have to work better, cheaper, using fewer people, and a software measurement program will help you do this. Also thinking about key people resigning, all the knowledge is in one person's head, and that person resigns, what happens? We've got to make sure that we consider that we need to have expertise spread around, so if the IT person leaves, that expertise does not leave with them. On to the next slide. Another area is communication. Fear of measurement. That's a biggie that I run into all of the time when I go into organizations. I've often joked that sometimes I feel like I need to go in with a paper bag over my head because they say, oh, there she comes, let's run. We have to get people over the fear of measurement. We have to get them to understand what's in it for them, how this will help them. This is not there to hurt them or to penalize them. It's there to help them in their job and help them be more productive and in the end have more job satisfaction, working less overtime or whatever. But we have to get them over the fear of measurement by letting them know what's in it for them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. We have to let them know what we are trying to accomplish with a software measurement program, whether it be establishing an estimation program so that we're not running over budget, not running way late in deliverables. Maybe it's a software improvement, process improvement program to help them do their jobs better, whatever. But we have to communicate what the program is, what our goal is, and how it's going to be for their benefit. The next area was misuse of measurement. The bullet, measuring individuals instead of the process, that is a major, major no-no. This is never to measure individuals. This is to measure a process. This is to improve the processes. We need to make individuals understand we're not in doing this to measure them or to punish them. We're in it to help them do their jobs better and accomplish things in a timely manner within budget, etc. You should never penalize individuals or teams with the results. Rather, you should use results for process improvements. If you try to